Hello everyone, it's Leon here with this week's PS4 O'Clock, and we are talking about the PS4, which has, for all intents and purposes, launched. I'm joined by editor of official PlayStation magazine, Ben Wilson.
Hello.
Hello. And games editor... Is games editor?
Features editor.
Features editor, sorry. Jason Killingsworth, who is a new man on the team.
Hello.
So how do we think it went? Obviously the launch is tomorrow, but the reviews are out there, the reactions are happening now.
I think all very positive. For me, I think all signs point to PlayStation becoming the pop culture console again. You know, kind of in the 90s and early 2000s, whenever you watch films, it's always someone's playing a PlayStation or talking about PlayStation. The last 5-6 years, it's become someone's playing an Xbox, talking about Xbox, and I think this is going to be the console that restores Sony to people's minds when they think about video gaming above Microsoft. That's my slightly biased but genuine opinion.
I know what you mean, because it's got that feeling of it's relatively cheap. There's a lot of interesting games coming, maybe not necessarily right now, but I know what you mean. It feels like it's that sort of conversation piece in the corner again, as opposed to its £600 PS3 niche launch, essentially.
I mean, Jason, your previous role was on Edge, and of course you guys courted controversy in the summer by
you were
pinning your
Yeah, absolutely.
Pinning yourself to PlayStation over Xbox. Is that still something you believe in?
Yeah, no question. I mean, I think if you look back over the past several months since the reveal of the console itself, there's been this mounting sense of goodwill towards what Sony's doing and what the console's ambitions are. And so I think if this launch, it doesn't even have to really exceed expectations, it doesn't have to blow people away, but if it even just meets them, I feel like it will have been a huge success for Sony, because people's expectations have been built up so high that as long as it doesn't disappoint, that's a huge win for Sony and the launch of this console.
It seems very simply that the console is better and it's cheaper, so you think that is when you put it in those really simple terms, that will mean people pick it up. Of course, there's going to be a lot of people out there who are really invested from a mental standpoint in sort of what Xbox and what Microsoft did last gen, so that I think they're going to be harder to sway, but generally I think the feeling is positive.
Yeah, and I think you were saying about how it doesn't have to exceed it, has to just be sort of good enough, and I think we're seeing that in the scores where Killzone's been getting a lot of 8s. I think its Metacritic's about 7.4 or something at the moment, so it's not a stellar score, but it's a good score. It's a solid game. Resogun, obviously we'll get to in a moment, that's been the one that everyone loved. Knack's not been faring so well, but then that was always kind of going to be the sort of the slightly kiddie game that no one really went for.
People's noses were kind of curling a bit, sort of even during the preview stage, and it looks like that's bearing itself out in reviews. So
Resogun, I mean, you gave that 9 for the magazine, and it's got 9s across the board from a lot of other publications.
Yeah.
It seems to be sort of the surprise sort of hit really on PS4. Why?
It's one of those games, like some games you can sort of open and shut. They sort of you watch the credits roll, and Resogun is an arcade title that the difficulties tiers sort of ramp up, and it's one you can play forever. As I was writing the review, I kept trying to figure out a reason why I needed to play just a bit more to write the review, when in actuality it was just because I wanted to keep playing the game, and there wasn't a clear stopping point, which is dangerous for somebody with addictive kind of tendencies.
It's a hard solo, isn't it? For the people who wanted to, the people who are looking at sort of the Killzones and the Second Sons and all the big Sony flag waving kind of main titles, the one that's won everyone over is an arcade downloadable shoot 'em up.
But also it does also prove the point that Sony invested a lot in indie gaming, and this is the kind of the exactly what it needed from the launch of an incredible indie game that is arguably better than anything else on offer in the AAA lineup. So from that point of view, I think Sony, I'm sure, would still rather Killzone went out and got 10 out of 10s, but it's not necessarily a bad thing that Resogun is performing so well.
No, absolutely, and especially tied up with the fact that PS Plus subscribers are going to be getting this game for free.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have any one game that everybody's going to be playing, you want it to be the game that's getting 8s and 9s across the board.
And how many times have you seen a console launch where they've gone and here's the highest scoring game for free?
Yeah, well, exactly.
Absolutely, it makes them look like the most generous guys in the room.
Yeah. So. I mean, I think the real strength will be sort of 6 months down the line when you've got the sort of second wave of games and you've got sort of the stuff that the launch lineup is good, not excellent, but later on down the line when you've got the sort of Second Son and you've got more of the indie games coming through, then it's gonna really start to pick up momentum. And sort of this time next year, it's going to be interesting to see where it's got to.
Yeah, I mean the downloadable games on PS3 at first. I mean, or EDI games. Do you remember when that was the term? That's what they called it. Initially,
PSN was first
I mean, it took a long time for us to get like even like calling all cars and Pain, which were like 8 out of 10 games. Whereas with this time we're getting Resogun, which already looks amazing. Contrast seems to be doing really good things. We're going to be reviewing that shortly. It really is kind of a bold move from Sony to basically go, we're pinning a lot of our introductory PS4 hopes on the indie side of thing, on the downloadable titles. But it looks like those people who do want that kind of piecemeal downloadable gaming are going to be very happy with the initial raft of games coming.
Yeah, with everything, with the whole tide of games kind of moving towards this always online kind of ecosystem, that sort of archaic notion of put a game in a box and it's automatically a better quality experience, like that's just going to be kind of an outdated concept, I think, and Resogun kind of proves that.
How much is Resogun? No, interesting.
It's well, they haven't announced a price for the UK, but it's $9.99 in the US, so it'll be a tenner.
Incredible value. That's what people want. People, and I say the same for myself. I was sort of happy to go out and pay 50 quid for a kind of FIFA or not necessarily COD for myself, but like people are so used to now picking up their iPad and getting games for 69p that 50 quid is suddenly an incredibly vast investment, and kind of the games like Resogun and Contrast are going to bridge that gap between your kind of 50 quid big hitters and your 69p iPad/iPhone games. That's exactly what Sony need them to do.
And you're seeing as well a lot more support post-launch now, where towards the end of PS3 it was coming in. Now things like Killzone, for example, pledged something like 18 months like full support post-launch to continue to expand and work on the multiplayer. And there is that idea now that games don't just sort of stop when they're released. I played Killzone, I reviewed it for the magazine, so I gave it 8 out of 10. I think it's a really good, strong shooter. Visually, it's fantastic to look at. Some really nice ideas. It's maybe not as much a step forward as it maybe could have been, but it's a great launch game. I think if anyone that gets it, it's going to look amazing on their TV. Their friends are going to.
And it's a studio getting to grips with new hardware.
So first handling of new tech, it's amazing.
This was always a likely event, kind of when you skip it or when you move onwards with the generation, you know that things are going to look better graphically, and I think the studios find it not easy to kind of turn those, conjure up those brilliant graphics, but it's certainly a damn sight easier than reconfiguring AI to kind of make the best use of the machine. And I think the reason why kind of Naughty Dog, for instance, haven't come out with whatever they're working on yet is because it's going to take even them time to really kind of master that machine. So you're going to see in the next year or so, you're going to see games that, of course, by nature immediately improve from the graphics standpoint, but I think it's going to take a lot longer to see those AI changes, especially in shooters, where kind of it's really hard to kind of give people what they want in terms of AI characters behaving like human characters do online. Online shooters, of course, like there's a million different behaviours because humans are controlling them. It's hard to convert that into AI behaving the same way.
It's really all just about getting enemy characters to shout racial and homophobic slurs. Like if they did that, it would just people would immediately assume they're better players. They're flanking me. They're just
one guy that sits in a bush for 20 minutes, doesn't move, fires one shot, and then just starts calling your names. Let's quickly then. So we've done Resogun, we've mentioned Shadow Fall, Killzone. You have played FIFA, which I don't do football. I don't understand sports. You say it's amazing.
It is absolutely brilliant.
I think is it a next gen thing that it's?
Yes. My slight criticism of the first raft of PS4 games with your Assassins, which Jason talks about on the podcast. Do listen to the podcast. Jason's got some really great opinions on that. So Assassin's Creed, Call of Duty, etc. is those games that have been reskinned for PS4. That's all they are, really, a reskin. Of course you want to play the version with the more souped up graphics, but not many of them are doing specific AI stuff on PS4 that's different to PS3 in terms of how enemies work, kind of how cooperative characters work and so on. With PS4, FIFA, they've really gone to town and trying to implement stuff that really isn't in the PS3 version and probably couldn't be done on PS3. So for instance, some of it is gameplay related. You get more time on the ball, movement is that little bit more intricate, passing's more deft if you like, because there's a whole new load of animations in there, but also it's off the pitch stuff. So in past versions of FIFA, when the ball went off for a goal kick, you jump cut straight to the goalkeeper being ready to take that kick. If it went out for a corner, you'd be ready to take the corner instantly.
I'm smiling 'cause I'm nodding like I know what
the listeners are all right. Now, like when the ball goes off, everything happens in real time. So if the ball goes for a corner, you see your winger or whoever you've designated to take the corner go and get the ball, put it down in the quadrant. You see the opposition goalkeeper and defenders readying for the corner to take place. You see your defenders ambling up from the back, and this is all done from like a multitude of different camera angles, exactly like a TV broadcast. And I think, because of all the memory that takes to do, I think it legitimately couldn't happen on PS3, and it's like the example of something that's done on PS4 where they've really utilised the new technology, and it's not just about improved graphics, and really adds to the overall footballing experience. I think it's a wonderful game, and I cannot wait to see where they develop it, because it's unheard of that a football game is so good that early in a generation, and like with 4, 5, 6 years to hone it, you know, that could become the sporting, not just the best footballing experience out there, but the best sporting experience out there.
Okay, what did you give it again now?
9 out of 10.
And it was an award.
Gold award, yes.
Gold award, 9 out of 10. I gave Killzone an 8 out of 10. You gave Resogun a 9.
9, yeah.
No, just a flat 9.
Yes.
Flat 9. And Clank, not Clank.
Knack.
We have yet to receive.
No, I mean, to be fair, Knack's had some bad reviews. We would acknowledge them. We haven't had the review code yet. But Joel did play it. Joel Gregory, our ex-Steps
He was
editor,
his biggest kind of critic, wasn't he?
He was his biggest critic, but when he went hands-on with it up at Sony HQ in London, he said it was okay. I mean, I think you're looking at a 5 or a 6, but as I say, I wouldn't want to commit to that without us having played and finished the game. I don't think he was as down on it as certain other sites have been. It's an easy game to knock.
It's called Knack.
It's called Knack, yeah.
We're renaming it here.
And yeah, I certainly, you know, there are some concerns with us in terms of like coming to review it, how it's going to score, but at the same time, I'm intrigued to see what it does, because though games like that are so easy to rip a new a-hole out of, you know.
Yeah, the thing I will say is that I feel like Knack engenders a lot of positive feelings because it's doing something that people want to see on the console.
Yes.
And so I think what you get is a situation where, do you score the game you have in front of you, or do you score kind of the fact that you want games like this to exist and to thrive even on this new console? And so I think to really boot the sort of first one of this breed that comes out again, I think reviewers will be a bit conflicted about this and be a bit shy about give it a kicking, because we do want to see the Ratchets and
absolutely,
and sort of Crash Bandicoots of the world kind of show up on PS4 and but also have a great game wrapped around them all the same. So.
Okay, so well, there you go. So it is out in the US tomorrow, and out in the PS4, I should say, will be releasing in the US tomorrow. All the reviews are sort of out at the moment. It'll be in the UK on the 29th, when we'll have more coverage of it then. If you've got any questions or anything you want to know, leave a comment, and we shall speak to you guys later.
Bye. Bye-bye.